So in a previous video, we made this heating mat and then we fried an egg on it, which I thought was hilarious. But somebody made a comment on that video that, hey, that's awesome, how about a cup? And I thought, do you know what? That's a really good idea. So I grabbed myself a cup from upstairs, put a couple of copper strips on it, and then put some of our conductive paint on there. And that's the result of it. It took about, I don't know, 20 minutes to make that. And you can see the little copper conductive points there and there. And that is, I think, going to be a heat cup. So we're going to try it now. What we're going to do is put some cold water in there, plug it in, and see how long it takes to raise that to some temperature. And for that, I've got a little stopwatch. Now, in order to make this a heat cup, obviously, it needed some kind of contact. So I got myself a little bit of plastic plate, a couple of strips of, these are nickel, incidentally, curled the nickel so the nickel points up a bit and taped them down. And the cup sits on there like that. And I know it's conductive because I've tested it previously. So that is my heat cup with heat pad. I'm going to put some cold water in there. And what I've got here is a sugar thermometer. It's a Kilneth sugar thermometer. It's reasonably accurate. And it goes right the way down from, what have we got in that water at the moment? 12 degrees centigrade up to, it's a couple of 100 degrees centigrade. So we'll see what kind of temperature we get. And I'm going to put this on at 24 volts because it's a low voltage system. So attach the power supply and turn on the power. So it's now at 2 volts. We'll put it up at 24. There we go. You've got 24 volts. It's drawing 3 amps actually, but that's because the resistance across that cup is in fact 9 ohms. And if I quickly test that temperature, that temperature is going up to 23 on the outside of the cup. It's obviously going to get to the inside of the cup. There's a couple of really interesting things to note about our paint. One, it sticks to ceramic. That's awesome. Which means it'll also stick to glass. Well, probably. But it certainly sticks to ceramic. And it's conformal. I mean, you're not going to get more conformal than a cylinder. So our paint is conformal, it sticks to ceramic, and we've got ourselves a cup. I'm going to leave that for a while now, start the timer, and we'll see what temperature that water gets up to after a certain amount of time. Hi. So it's been a while, 15 minutes. It's raised it from what was 12 degrees now to 32 degrees inside the cup, which is kind of cool. But they can see the water is actually beginning to steam. That's kind of cool. I think I might try and make a cup of tea out of this. Okay, I have to say this is somewhat awesome. It's at 61 degrees centigrade. Now, I had a look on the web, and there's a government report on the temperatures of hot drinks. Apparently, most hot drinks are served somewhere between about 75 and 82 degrees centigrade. And when they surveyed 300 people, they found that most people wanted their drinks at 60 degrees centigrade, plus or minus 8 degrees. So somewhere between 52 and 68 degrees centigrade, apparently, is the perfect temperature for a hot drink. Ours is actually at 61, 62, and it's still going up. But now it's time to make a cup of tea. Oops. So, I've got my hot water, I've got my tea bag, I'm going to pop that in there and give that a little time to brew. I'm kind of expecting this to still creep up, incidentally. Now, a bit more information on this. This device is current limited as well as voltage limited, so although it's set at 24 volts, actually it will only give out 3 amps. So it's at the moment at 15.5 volts, 3 amps, so that's about 48 watts. What that means is this cup, although it's taken over an hour to heat up, is being boiled by what is equivalent to a very low power light bulb. So we're able to make our cup of tea from our very low power light bulb. That's kind of awesome. Okay, so we come back to it, and we're now at 82 degrees centigrade. Got a really hot cup of tea. You can see it steaming nicely. It's made a cup of tea in there. I'm going to turn the power off. Oh, actually, let me turn it back on, because one of the things you should notice, really, is as the power is coming out, if I lift that off, there we go, the power drops to 0, which you'd expect because we've got 2 little spring contacts here that are contacting the bottom of our cup. We'll pour that out. And we have a cup of tea. There we go. So we're able to make a cup of tea from our cup. Now, I think this is awesome, really, because it's kind of product ready if you think about it. I mean, there's a couple of little design issues we need to look at. So this is bare, you don't really want to be picking it up like that. A lot of people pick the cup up like that, as I do. What would be good is a bit of plastic around there just to make sure that you're not touching the contact. So even though this has been running at 15 volts, you don't really want to touch it. So a little bit of plastic on there would stop that happening. Now, obviously, this is radiating out in all directions as well as into the cup. So it's not as efficient as it could be. If we put an insulator around there or something that was heat reflective around there to reflect it all back into the cup, it'd be much more efficient, would heat up and would keep that temperature. The way to control the temperature on this is probably to do it by wattage. So restrict the wattage to about 40 watts or so, and it's going to keep the temperature of the tea round about 70 degrees centigrade, which is kind of awesome. Now, in itself, a cup of tea is more of an executive toy, I think. But it does tell you an awful lot about what this ink will do and an awful lot of the product possibility. So you're looking at things like egg incubators, kettle shed warmers, pool heaters, house heating, all that kind of stuff can be made from this ink, and we're really quite pleased about that. If anybody's interested in making this as a device in itself, then it's pretty simple. A couple of strips of copper, lick it round with paint, get yourself something here with a couple of spring contacts. Obviously something on this base plate would be really good that would register the handle, so you were always putting it in the right place, or where it didn't really matter, so maybe there was a ring contact in the centre, so it dropped in the centre. But something like that would finish this as a product ready device, running around about 15 volts, so you probably run at 12 volts, you certainly can run at 24 volts, and you do something to restrict the current that would go in there. Myself, I would wattage restrict it by restricting the voltage. Anyway, I hope that was of interest to you, and thank you very much for watching.